I put this clip in here for a very specific reason, based on the title. And interestingly enough, she didn't talk at all about what the title insinuated she was going to talk about. But she did bring up an interesting facet that I think we should talk about before I close with what I wanted to talk about the video originally for.
Okay.
Okay. And so, yeah, so this, she brought up in this video, it is a, what Filipinos like in bed type of video. Well, that's the title. But I put it in there for the type of video, you see so many videos on the internet that are just rampant, what redheads like, how to get a woman in bed no matter what, 10 easy steps to guarantee you're going to get a woman, how to treat a brunette on a Friday night. Like, what the fuck? I mean, like the specificity, the degree with which these videos proliferate the internet, instructing people on how to acquire lovers, right? I just want to make clear to everybody, I would put my 2 cents into this nonsense game, essentially, is what I'm about to do here, right? This is a nonsense game. There is no secret to what redheads like, right? There is no way to guarantee a blonde is going to suck your dick. Right? There is no guaranteed way to land you a sugar daddy. Take all of that shit with a grain of salt, much like you will have to take this information and advice with a grain of salt, right? Because who the fuck am I, right? I have credentials that could lead us towards, yes, we are very well credentialed to be the amateur armchair sexual anthropologists that we are.
Sure.
But even if we had stellar fucking credentials to back us up for that being our profession, it would not matter. It would still be, there is no one right answer to any of these sexual questions that you might be asking. So I would like to heavily ask people to do a lot of research, look around, watch dirty movies, watch people who talk about sexual anthropology, watch people who talk about sex in a political way, in a scientific way. Learn about all of the different things that you can learn about sex. It is a very important part of your life. Easily arguable, the most important part of your life, because you wouldn't fucking be here if it weren't for sex.
Right? That's a very good point.
Right?
Very good point.
Clara recently brought up, I used to have a phrase I'd say a lot, but it works for different arguments, but the saying is basically, I like to say, for every person born, a person dies, right? To which people then fall into a trap and argue me from a different point of view, and that's a different story, right? But because the point is, yeah,
if you were born, you will die.
If you were born, you will die, and sex is... It's the only reason that's happening, right? You're one of the few lucky people who gets to exist in the universe because of some fucking.
Yep.
It's that important, right? You have this short, miraculous ride through this vast and wondrous universe because one of a billion of that one ejaculate load made it through to an egg, and the violently acidic, hostile, protective, immune response, right? This is not an easy trek. It's not an easy journey, right? It's amazing. It's amazing. You should learn everything you can about sex. I encourage everybody to learn from every aspect. I mean that. Because there is no one right answer, but also there are fuckloads of right answers, right? So we're going to make videos separately.
There's almost no wrong answer.
Yeah, we're going to make videos separately about why we have pretty much no fucking pity for people who like to put themselves under this weirdly... They're almost fetishizingly proud about it now. Label of incel, right? What the fuck even is an involuntarily celibate person? That's not a thing. You are absolutely voluntarily celibate, or one of the greatest assholes the world has ever seen. If you are not accidentally getting sex, because I didn't say it, she said, you almost can't do it wrong. So
yeah,
we'll talk about that later. But yeah. So what she brought up was interesting about how Asian women in general, studies show that is more across the board, not just Filipinos, but how Asian women tend to either fall asleep with or hold throughout the night the genitals of their lovers. And then she pointed out an interesting part. She made a joke about it, but she did point out an interesting part about the comfort, there is a safety aspect about it, which, like I said, she makes jokes about, which are valid jokes. There's reality to that. That's probably absolutely true, but not necessarily. And more the reality of just, that is a very easy way for us to stay interconnected as partners, comforting each other through the night.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it be, go back as far as you want, right? Whether it be Ugg and Grug falling asleep at the base of a tree or inside a cave, or right?
Right.
Whether it be...
You want that connection because you don't know if you're going to make it.
Right? Are you going to make... Right?
Nighttime is scary.
Right? Yeah. We are a creature that is essentially goo and juice, very easy to kill, and we have to sleep for roughly 6 to 8 hours a day. That's a long time to have to shut down in a world that is very well designed to kill you.
Yeah.
with ease.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I can imagine that is a
Longhouse is that?
well, it's a human bonding thing that would be that would be very old in its
I think
establishment.
So. I think so.
You know, in fact, I would think the reason why everybody is not doing why that is not a more prolifically practiced. I was hoping for more alliteration. I could find another word with P to get on there, but I'm sorry, I didn't do it. Oh well. Anyway, I imagine that would be much more heavily practiced if there weren't so many social or societal taboos placed around sex the way it is. I bet you that would be much more heavily practiced. The idea of holding your lover's genitals to sleep, and I'd imagine it changes, right? Because people shift throughout the night and switch positions, and it's. I imagine it's just a further form, of cuddling.
Right.
Because it's not a sexual thing at that point.
You might start by spooning, but it's not like you're going to spoon the entire night and wake up still spooning.
Right. In the exact
that's just like the comfort that you do to help you lull yourself into sleep.
Yeah. And I'd imagine in the middle of the night, how one partner will wake up in the middle of the night and drastically change positions, right? And then later on in the night, the other partner might wake up and go, oh, and then drastically change positions to fit the change of the other partner or other person, and then do something new. That now you're in a new cuddle orientation, right? We know that's the general pattern of how people go through the night. And I'd imagine that this would just be one of those things that gets operated into, or that gets put into that operation.
Yeah.
What I get, I can't think of what I tried. Put into that rotation is more the phrase I was trying to get at. Sorry about that. Because just what an easy, obvious way for us to interconnect. You know what I mean? Like when someone rolls, when you spoon and put your arm under their arm and in between. You know what I mean? There are lots of ways. What I'm trying to get at is in a non-sexual manner, there are lots of ways that this body interacts. Perfect example: a hug, the way people hug each other, right? Yeah. The way people handshake, right? Which that's a form that I can't stand anymore, right? But there are lots of ways that we interconnect as a creature. You know what I mean? And so there are obvious ways that partners and lovers especially are going to have their own intimate code of ways that they interconnect, and this would just be that's just an additional one that their cultures haven't tabooed.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting, the way, or that was an interesting piece of information to find out, and I'm glad that we have experienced that knowledge. And this is why I say to people, I encourage people to inform themselves as much as possible about sex. You really should. It is a wonderful, inviting world that does not need to be shameful and negative and hostile the way it is today. And I think we would solve a lot of our current political crises and a lot of our current sociological struggles if we were a lot more open about our sex, and if we were a lot more above board and honest with people, with our friends and neighbors, with reality, right? I don't want this to end on a dark and dirty note, but I mean, if you just think about, and I know you will know who I'm talking about, if you just think about all of the people that you bump into at that one swingers party that you just wanted to experiment, right? You just wanted to visit, right? What's it like? Right? Surely you don't go frequently, right? you know what I'm talking about. Those people who go frequently and say they don't, those people who go frequently and are open about it, those people who go occasionally and hide it, those people who go one time and just because they were experimenting. It happens a lot. And you noticed there is no shortage of people there they're just checking it out, right? Stop that. Stop making that a bad thing.
Yeah.
People should get to be more open about who they are. And as long as you're doing it in safe and proper ways, I think we would solve so many problems. And I'm not saying we'd solve all the problems, don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying, you would have a lot of people with such, you would reduce the pent-up frustrations, you would reduce the pent-up kinks that probably wouldn't have been problematic if they had been nurtured and dealt with in a proper and normal, reasonable manner, but then festered and turned into something dirty and ugly that then gets someone caught in some sort of nasty scandal. Lots of things like that happen that I don't think would necessarily need to happen if people were more open and above board about this stuff.
Yeah.
And there are lots of ways that we actually see the results of the positivity and the benefits of being more open and responsible with sex and its operations and its realities.
Yeah. For sure.
So I don't know. I think what I wanted today was to try and get people to understand we are this wildly multifaceted creature that I just don't think people need to try and boil down to. Here's the one fix. I've got the answer. We can do it. We know what's best.
There are what, 8 billion people on the earth?
8 billion plus.
And we are 8 billion out of an infinite number of possibilities.
Right.
An infinite
Endless.
number of possibilities.
Endless. I mean, I want you to picture endless possibility of humans to be born.
8 billion are here right now. We're all unique.
Every single fucking one.
The stars that needed to align to have that particular set of genetics with this particular set of genetics to create this, if one star was out of alignment, I would be a different person.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have different colored hair or
the
eyes.
The complexity of these codes.
Emotionally would have been different. Like,
yeah.
we are, each one of us is so, one thing that bothers me so much is like nutrition, right?
Yeah.
Fitness, right? Anytime I do a lot on the Peloton app, and the instructors are always saying, listen to your body, do what's right for you.
Because it's the same thing. Right? There's no one.
I talked with Gemini about nutrition. What should I look for on a nutrition label? Well, it's really up to you and how your body processes.
How does your was it the bionome or whatever?
Bio? I don't know.
Bio, yeah. How does it respond?
But
right?
We're all so different, and we're told that over and over. You're unique. There is no other person exactly like you. Like, there's too many of us.
Yeah, and that's part of the beauty of it too, because that's where we get. We're like somebody, I can't remember, some comedian said it, famous comedian, so people will know who I'm talking about, right? Some line along the lines of 85% of people in this room are programmed to fuck 85% of people in this room. To want to fuck, right? To be willing to fuck, to be able to fuck, right? Because let's face it, right? Sure, everybody has their people who are like, oh no, I couldn't fuck that. I could not fuck that, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has those people, right? And I'm talking across the spectrum. I don't care, boy, girl, homosexual, bisexual. I don't give a fuck. I'm talking each and every single person has a range, right? Of what I will tolerate, what I can accept, right? It's a huge fucking range. Don't get me wrong, huge fucking range, right? You at any given point, any human can walk into any group of humans, and there will be, right? If there's 10 fucking people in there, you could see yourself fucking at least 2 to 3, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And especially when like if you take it down to the nuts and bolts of survival, right? You're like, okay, if these are the only 10 people that exist, I got to tell you, I could probably fuck 8 of them. Right? I could at least use 7 or 8 of each of their use 7 or 8 holes. Yeah. Combination of whatever. What I'm getting at is the complexity of how many variants and variations and all the different options. That is one of the things that is so enticing to us, right? We're programmed to want and to be willing and to be curious about so many different things. To where that whole 85% of the people are programmed to fuck 85% of the people here is pretty much how you should kind of tackle this situation of trying to learn about sex. There is no one right answer. Like she was bringing up, it's the same. We have this understanding and we have this knowledge about our health, right? We know this about how we educate, right? The whole schools of pedagogy that teach people different modality, that teach about the different modalities of how people learn, right? We know these things, right? We know that there's no one right formula that we can put together that is just going to answer this problem for everyone. And you need to stop thinking that way. It's magical thinking. It's part of it. It goes a lot to, it's part of the problem with religion, right? It's magical thinking. There is no, you can't just put down a blanket absolute. That's not how we as a creature work. We are all about the ranges. We are all about the spectrums. We are all about
we have to be. There's too many of us.
Yeah. And so it's very fun. And it's going to be very important to people in the very near coming future, right? Because we are going to go through an existential change, and I think people are starting to recognize that politically, sociologically, that it's happening. We are always hoping that it will be as peaceful as possible, but shit is changing, and people need to be aware. But it can be a good thing. We can make this change a good thing, and I think if we do it, I think we are capable of doing it well.
Yeah,
I have faith in us.
So too.
So good luck, people.
Yep.